What's up, everybody? Wardrobe / Todd / itinerant / whatever it is, just call me, blah, 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 ha, ha, ha. Hey, I'm here today to do a quick overview of a new list and scenario book out there for Blitzkrieg Commander, which is a pretty cool thing because we have never ever seen that, as far as I know, in the Blitzkrieg Commander series of books, 1 through 4. It's always been fan-based scenarios, kind of like what I released and what others have released. In the past, not even most of them aren't even books, are just one-off scenarios, and so it's pretty exciting. There aren't that many scenarios that are out there based around, where each stand is a platoon, so probably like battalion level. There's not that many out there. Command Decision might be one of them, but those are huge. Anyway, there's a new book out. It's called Libertad, and I know I butchered that, but I looked it up and I just liked it because it said "tad" at the end. No, anyway, it's about the Spanish Civil War. So I saw this was coming out September 1st. So tomorrow, it's Monday, the 31st of August, 2020. So it's coming out September 1st, 2020. I actually think you can get it right now on Wargame Vault, and it's there for a little over $6. 34 pages, and I'm just going to give you an overview. I asked Leon if he could send me a copy, and he was generous enough to do that. So he did send this to me, and it is an overview more than a review because I haven't played it, and I just kind of looked it over and want to just really highlight stuff and see if you're interested in buying it and support Pendraken. It'd be awesome. So I've not really played much. Let's quit looking at my face. Let's go to the what's up, Kevin? Sir? Let's go over here. Wow, share my screen. Okay, I'm going to skim through this, and some pages I'm going to go fast because, it's copyright material. So, but the cover is a nice cover, very evocative, and some background of an old Stuka. So, really, this was a proxy war for the nations around, especially Germany and Russia, to test their equipment. I think more than anything, not more than anything else, but that's a big part of it. And it's pretty destructive. I don't really know much about it besides just kind of the highlights that you hear about occasionally, but I really don't know much about this this period of our history, even though I'm a World War II guy. So I will correct that at some point in my reading and kind of just to try to understand it. But it's going to be tough to understand because there are 24 army lists in here. And when I read the introduction, which was it's just like a couple paragraphs, which we can show you. So here's the cover. Let's get over here and take a look at it. So this cover, Blitzkrieg Commander Supplement for the Spanish Civil War, 1936 to 1939, Pendraken miniature. So like I said, it's really cool and exciting to see this happening. And let's just kind of do some perusing of it. So you got the nice Blitzkrieg Commander logo there, so it kind of ties it in nice. And then here we go. So it's just even the introduction there. It's real short, but I kind of like that, and because in some ways, because like you can go read the histories and stuff on the web and in books. So sometimes I wonder if deep histories are needed in these kind of books, and well, good history is hard to write. So, but this is good. I mean, it just tells you, and this alone showed me like, oh yeah, this was a very complex situation, like most are. But there was a lot of nations, a lot of people involved, and it's pretty crazy. So, and I always feel like the Spanish Civil War is one that's people talk about, and they a lot of people like to game it, and I'm not really sure why. I'm guessing because it was kind of before the war, so the technology was still a little raw. There's probably some hangover from World War I type of stuff. The tanks were small, and it was a testing field. Unfortunately for the citizens of Spain, they had to suffer through that and a lot of other confusion. But this first page just gives that introduction, and then of course it kind of goes into it's kind of interesting. Kind of goes into a little bit about the game here, which I thought was kind of cool because if someone could stumble upon this book, and like, well, what's Blitzkrieg Commander? It just tells you real quick about it. But I did want to highlight. I'm not going to spend this much time on every page. So I'm not going to be able to zoom in here. That's interesting. Let's see if I can. Oh, there we go. So I do want to say the writers, Rob Anderson and Mark Fry, a couple names I am unfamiliar with. Some guy named Henry Hyde, I do know that name. Kieran Hall is the front cover design, which I really like the front cover, so good job, Mr. Hall. And of course, there's Leon, who did the editing and internal design. So, and I think it's consistent with I think you'll see it's consistent with the Blitzkrieg Commander book. And then, of course, the period photos. So let's zoom back. Whoa, not that much. But it might be interesting. I wonder if I could get Mr. Anderson and Fry on to the, maybe we could do a little interview, because I would be interested to learn a little bit more about their thinking about this. So that's something. If anybody knows them, let me know. Kevin, thanks for joining on. I'd say if you have any questions, ask, but I don't really know that much about it. So like I said, I want to go through this fairly quick. So the first thing that we do is they talk about some special rules that they incorporated to kind of bring it to the, kind of emphasize the Spanish Civil War portion, which I think is cool. And the biggest one that I noticed is this thing about line commanders. So I'm going to go scroll through this fast and kind of just zoom in on the picture here a little bit. So if you don't know, Blitzkrieg Commander, what's up, Ardwolf? I know it's you say it's I turn Ardwolf. Go check out his channel, Ardwolf's Lair. He's board gaming, but war board gaming, very good. He had a great interview with Nathan, super cool gamer out of Australia. But Ardwolf says I need to continue being itinerant, which is fine. I think he might be one of the only people that can pronounce it. So, anywho, thanks for coming on, sir. All right, so line commander. I'm, again, I'd love to have those guys on here, maybe talk to them about their thinking behind this. I'm guessing some of it is just because in that time, the commanding was a little tighter than it was even in World War II. Radios and all that wasn't quite as much a thing. And you're also dealing with a lot of like partisan-like units, I believe, and just a lot of people coming in and fighting this war, and kind of ragtag teams here. I like this feature. I like Line Commander, and so let's explain what it is real quick. So in normal Blitzkrieg Commander, you have two ways to have command. Now let me think. Maybe I need to step back. So usually how you do a command is you have a CO who's in charge of the entire army. So your commanding officer. So they usually have some attachments, but then they can usually, I'm not going to get into all the deep rules here, but they can oftentimes command, maybe at a penalty, maybe not. They can command all the units. And then one step down from that, you have HQs. And the HQs are the smaller level commanders. So typically, if you're doing battalion, you're going to be in charge of a company. So in charge of 3 or more, typically, platoons. And it's usually a separate stand, and all the command is kind of abstracted. I mean, you have a stand for it, but they can't attack. They can only be overrun. And they do have anti-aircraft, which I never use because I don't use air enough in my games. But anyway, they're a separate little piece on the table, but they're abstracted. So I mean, they can't do much. Now, they don't do any fighting, and so they're there to kind of simulate, the radius of command. So when they stay in one place in a turn, and your troops get further and further away from them, it gets harder and harder to command them. Well, so not even that, but the more you command them, because you can do multiple turns, it becomes hard to command them. But you can spread your units out all across the table if you want. You're just going to suffer some penalties. Well, this is and so that's that. That's normally how it works. You also, I thought this was going to be easy to explain this, but they do have an option where your commander can be a fighting unit. But it's operated in an interesting way, and I've never played with it because I'm not quite comfortable with it. So oftentimes what they do is the commander can be a fighting unit, but it always has to go first. And and you can shoot at it. So like I said, remember, you can't shoot at the first level of abstracted leadership. Well, these you can shoot at, and anyway, you lead from the front. I don't understand it. Well, this is a little different, and I kind of like this. I may adapt this in some ways to my games. Line commander. So you determine you're going to do a line commander, and you would put it with unit D here, right? And you'd say my commander's with unit D. Now that's great, and they can fight, they can move, they have the same stats as unit D, but that's your commanding unit. But the thing is, what you have to do is you have to keep them within a 20-centimeter command radius at all times. I mean, while you're moving, but you always got to make sure you're there. If you're not in the circle, like B and C, and we'll say D is E as well. I'm not really sure what the example shows, but this A is within command because it's within 20 centimeters. and also B and C are, because they are within 5 centimeters of Unit A. And I'm sorry, they use centimeters in this game. Unit F is not in command, and it might say that Unit E is because it's within 5 centimeters, but whatever. But what is cool is that it's kind of simulating, having the commanders more on the front lines. The communications aren't as great, so you kind of have to group your people together. I think it seems to fit kind of what I imagine Spanish Civil War is. So I thought that was a really cool rule, like I said, that I may adapt. Because they can move at any time, they can be fired at, they can die. They do not have the AA, so they don't have anti-air. And if they get shot and died, another unit becomes it with a less command value. I'm not going to get into all that stuff about it. I think that's a pretty cool rule that they have. Now, another thing that they really talk a lot about in this game is fixed formations. Now, fixed formations is, think of it as, so if you're looking at this picture here, and it's kind of a big unit because usually you only have like 3, it's like a company. If you're, if I ever stand as a platoon, but, it can change based on how you're structured. And I honestly don't know how they were structured in the Spanish Civil War. So this could be a good example of that. Yet another reason I want those writers on here. It'd be fun to get their insight. So, but Blitzkrieg Commander as written, or first rule, is you don't have fixed formations. So your units like E, D, or D, E, and F can be a company or whatever. No one has to stick with anybody else. It's almost like a board game, like that doesn't, like ASL. You can move your units with all the units you want. You can put all 6 of these together, and your commander can be somewhere else, or the commander can command 1 unit. I mean, you can do whatever you want. Well, they have an optional rule of fixed commanders, fixed formations, I'm sorry, where you say A, B, and C is commanded by HQA, and D, E, and F is led by, headquarters B. And you kind of fix it, and it makes it so it's tough for these guys to command him and this guy, which to me is more historically accurate. Well, in this game, they really emphasize that most of these units need to operate as fixed formations, which again, to me, makes sense, except for like guerrillas don't have to and all that. Is all this making sense to everybody? I hope so. Anyway, so they spend a lot of time on things like that. Another thing they talk about a lot is improvised street barricades. They said that a lot of, there's a lot of urban fighting and BUA, built up area, and that they street barricades. So barricades, so like tearing up concrete, whole slabs of concrete and cars and vehicles. Again, you could adapt these rules for like if you're fighting Stalingrad. I think it's pretty cool. So they're treated as trenches. Now, normally you can't build trenches in a city or BUA, but here you can. You can do it across roads and built up areas. And it subtracts 1d6 from 8 anti-tank fire and 2d6 from anti-personnel fire. You don't have any protection against area fire, of course. I mean, if it lobs into your area. And there's some assault changes as well. So that's kind of a neat feature that I do not believe is in the original rules. So that's pretty cool. There's air superiority, saying it's not much of a factor, but a couple of the armies have them. Now this is interesting. So they talk about, let's scroll down here, pardon me, everyone get dizzy, mainly because I want to show this picture. This picture is kind of cool to me. So you can see the guy there, all the people, man, just look at those people. Apparently this tank was really good. I think it's the T-26. So it's kind of a fun rule. So, okay, so in Blitzkrieg Commander, the rules as written are the primary way you play. I have never played it this way, but it's the way it's written, is that you take the hits off of units after every turn. So you could put, most units take anywhere between 3 to 6 hits. So let's say your infantry, this tank unit here, because remember you're representing 5 to 6 to whatever tanks. They could take 4 hits in one turn, and if you don't destroy it with 5 hits, for example, all those hits come off at the end of the turn. Now, I'm not really sure. I never have understood that rule, and I've never played with it, because they've always had an optional rule of keeping the hits on, which I've always done. Now, what's interesting is, side note, there's a gentleman, there's been lots of talk of another optional rule, house rule. Not talk of. There are people who house rule where you can rally hits and all that, and thought that was cool. And there's a guy that's kind of written some up, and I'll probably play a game with it and do a video of that at another time. But it's kind of cool in this game that they say the tanks, and this actually is interesting. But so the tanks, they say all the tanks, because it's such small armor and thin armor, that they need to stay. All the hits stay on. So again, remember, if the hit's down, you're gonna die faster. All except for the T26. So it is the T26. All except for the T26, its hits come off because it was the best tank of that era. So I thought that was kind of a fun way of simulating that. And you could still play where the hits come off, stay on the infantry, but come and stay on the tanks, but they come off the T26. That would be an interesting thing to do. And I'll have to look. I've not looked at this. Some of the scenarios might actually be played at a smaller scale. So we'll take a look at that. They also talk about I think you can see it. They talk about there's no smoke. Molotov cocktails is a thing. Armored vehicles are like armored cars with no AT ability, without AT ability, and improvised cars and trucks. So it just, because there was a lot of jerry rigging to, fight the battles, I'm sure. So thought that was another cool feature. And so now so they have a bunch of rules like that. Then it gets into, I have some cool pictures from it. Now we get into the scenarios. So I'm going to zoom in here. So here's an example of one, I guess I can show you. So kind of gives you a little background. Again, I have no idea of any of these things. And it just tells you the troops and how you mean. So this is a fairly small one. Talks about deployment. And then there's a map by Henry Hyde. Thought the maps are pretty nice in here. Again, remember you're playing, let's see how these are played. Yeah, whoa. Oh yeah, so everything's a platoon in this game, in this scenario. So you can see pretty nice map, fairly simple. The big hills are always an issue with me. I'm always like, how do I simulate that? I got this huge styrofoam next to me. So what I'm going to do now is I don't want to leave these on here too long because I just feel like that's not fair. But anyway, so there's that. And you saw the title. So I'll just stay on the title there. Storming the Alcazar del Toledo. So there you go. This one's crazy. Look at that. In a city, like a castle or so that's, and the defending forces are very small in this, but look at it, pretty hilly, lots of water, very interesting maps. Take some unique modeling to do these. This one, you'll see one that's even, to me, well, this is pretty crazy. And I think these are all 6x4. So another map there. That's pretty crazy. All the little dips and dobs there with the steep gullies. Yeah, I don't know about that, man. I don't know. I'm not even clear how to do that, but I love the maps are cool, and the scenarios seem pretty cool. The Battle of Ciudad University. So this is one where they talk about the they talk a lot about the improvised street barricades. So it's pretty cool. Some really neat modeling opportunities here. And I like the maps, like this one here. It's just kind of a little open, right? You can find period pictures and kind of see what you need to do to make it like a university. The fight in the north. I'm not even going to try it. How about this one? 5 levels of hills. It's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy and kind of cool. So big old gully going down there, a little by that farm up there. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And special abilities. Now these special abilities are pretty much as they are in the book. I think they're just, the cool thing is I think what they're doing is just focusing on the ones they really use. So again, the pictures are just like in the book, in the main book. So here are all your lists. I'll leave that up for a second for you to see that. I don't think there's any problem showing that. Soviet Onion. That is hilarious, dude. Soviet Onion. So yeah, let me rehash what this is. So this is a Spanish Civil War expansion. What's up, ID? So this is a Spanish Civil War expansion for Blitzkrieg Commander. It is definitely for Blitzkrieg Commander. It's not really open to other games because the lists are very targeted to that, and the special rules and all that are very targeted. I would say the scenarios could be used in other games if you play another game like that. That's cool. So hey, everybody, go check out ID Jester's channel. I've been on his show. I need to have him on my show, on my channel. I've been on his channel. We've talked. He's doing board war games, just like Ard Wolf's Lair. Well, not just like him. They have their different styles, but it's pretty cool. So he's doing some really fun videos over there. Anyway, so yeah, so it's an expansion. You need the core rule book for this. You could use any of the Blitzkrieg Commander. Well, I should say that you could use any Blitzkrieg Commander edition, but this is specifically for 4 because they took out the Spanish Civil War lists in they had it in 1, 2, and 3, and they 1 and 2. I don't know if they had it in 3, probably not. They had it in 1 and 2, but they didn't put it in 4. Don't remember why they took it out, but since I don't play it, I was fine with it. But it's pretty cool, so that you can see that they put a lot of thought into how these armies fought. Again, if anybody knows these authors, Mr. Fry, and I'll have to look it up at the beginning again. But I'm going to look at one of the lists. They talk about how they're small, right? Some of the armies and the lists they give are really small. So, for example, Army of Africa Foreign Legion, you can see all that, you can read it, but it's your kind of standard. I like the flag, that's kind of cool. Again, I don't know the history well yet, so, and then you got all the different tactical doctrines. Here's your lists. Now you can see the platoons are divided into several. I think one reason I would probably like Civil War, Spanish Civil War, is that I'm not a tank guy, so I'm a little less tank heavy. I don't have to play late war with all the big cats. Not my thing. So where it's a little bit more infantry emphasis is nice. I know they had tanks, obviously, and it's a thing, and armored cars and all that. I think it's fun to have it. I like combined arms, but lots of green here. So fierce is going to be something they use a lot, just because it's people fighting for their own homeland against each other, and it gets ugly, unfortunately. So anyway, I'd have to do some reading about all this stuff to see why they are the way they are. But all the ranges and all this very similar to the World War II, full version. So you got your Molotov cocktails, which is basically an upgrade. Still can't attack tanks. You got some mortars. Oh, the mortars can do damage to tanks. Oh, they can just nope, they can't do damage. That asterisk means they can just shock them, not shock them, suppress them. So I don't even know. The thing is, I don't even know what some of this stuff is. So, it's a plane. That's cool. So pretty basic. And then they give you some notes about them. And then it just, whoa, there we go. And it's just all the lists, right? So boom, 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 boom. Some of them are shorter, some than others. I think this is a fascinating picture here. Look at these guys firing that MG42, I'm assuming, and look how high up they are. Where are they shooting? It's crazy. So at the beginning, so everyone was still fresh and raw. Big believers in their cause. So there's I think those Stukas look pretty crazy. Italians doing a guy throwing a grenade. So the really small ones there, you field it the way you need to field it. Women, fighters. Like I said, I'm going to go fast just because you need to buy the book. So, and that's that. It seems pretty good to me. I think it's it's a lot of work, a lot of time and energy put into it. I can't attest to the accuracy of it because I don't know the history, but I'm pretty impressed with it. I like the way it's done, and I did not know that they were going to put scenarios in it, which I think is a bonus and pretty awesome. So again, just to make sure everyone's clear, I asked Leon if he could send me from Pendraken, if they could send me a copy of this so I could do this overview, and he agreed. So I did get this for free from him. And I'm just going to say, I like the look of it, and I like the fact that there are scenarios. It'll be a while before I play Spanish Civil War myself, but not because based on this, just because I'm trying to finish some things I'm working on right now. So, but it is interesting, and I think people will like it. I think you could use the scenarios in other games. The lists may not do you much good. I mean, I guess the cool thing about the lists is that it could give you information about the armies, maybe give you some ideas, but they don't get into like army structure or anything like that. So I would need to do, I don't know if there are micromark army lists on it. That might be interesting to look up. So, because I want to do that, because I always play with fixed formations and like to structure the armies, but you don't need to if you play those scenarios. But if you're interested in Spanish Civil War, I think this is a good, it's $6 from Pendraken. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a little over let me try over. A little over $6 US in 2020, September, almost September 1st. I think it's live now, but it's supposed to be officially live tomorrow, September 1st, 2020. And there will be a hardback version coming out. I'm sure I'll pick that up so I can have a hard copy in my collection. Again, if anybody knows the authors, let's go back to that page real quick, the authors, and thank them for their work. Rob Anderson and Mark Fry. Again, Henry Hyde of Henry Hyde fame. But if anybody knows Mr. Anderson or Fry, let me know. I'd love to talk to him. Kieran Hall on that cover design, which I really like, frankly, and Leon, owner of Pendraken, and for doing editing and internal design. So go check it out at Wargame Vault, or probably right now. Go get it, and let's go check it out. Of course, or don't. I don't care. Do whatever you got to do. But anyway, I think it's cool. I like it, and thank you all for jumping on. The people who chatted with me here, we got Kevin and Soviet Onion, which is one of the best names there are. ID Gesture, go check out his channel. Soviet and Ardwolf Slayer, of course, go check out his awesome channel. And it's good stuff. And we had a nice set of viewers here tonight. And let me go back so you can see my beautiful face, because I know that's what you're all really wanting more than anything else. You can see me clicking around on my screen, like, why can't I get over to my screen there? Okay, there we go. And there we go. So thank you all for coming on. Like I said, go check it out. I enjoy it. And if you know some people who like Spanish Civil War, let them know about it. And we'll, when I get any games in, I'll let you know, but it could be a while. But I do have a game set up on my table right now. Can you see it? No, not really. Let me see if I can move this for you here. I had it set up last night, and it's a I Ain't Been Shot Mom scenario, but I'll be using Blitzkrieg Commander for it. So just like I was saying, even if you don't play Blitzkrieg Commander, you can buy these for these scenarios. So thank you all. You'd be awesome, and we'll chat at you later. See ya.